Welcome to the future, you guys. We are live. This is take 2, I believe, but whatever. We're a little bit behind, but hang in there, guys. Positive vibes all around. We're doing something a little different today on our live stream. We've got a co-host, and I hope this is going to be the start of many segments together. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Ash Thorp. He's waiting in the wings right now to talk to us. But before we talk to him, I want to quickly introduce everybody on the team. You guys say hello real quick. Just say hello.
Hey, guys.
They're scrambling there. So this is a team of 3. The dream team is back, and we're going to just jump into it. Okay, Aaron, cut back to me, please. All right, so this is the raw segment, you guys. This is unedited, unscripted. This is raw. Roll the title. All right, can we confirm that we are broadcasting this time live on Facebook and on YouTube, you guys? Are we confirmed? Thumbs up? We're good. All right, you guys. Hang in there. If you guys want to comment, Ash is going to be on. He's going to be reading comments as well as with me. Today, we're going to be talking about 2 topics. 2 topics are, one is about industry myths, things that I kind of wanted to dispel. And the other thing is we're going to talk about the subjectivity of art. And I'm going to talk for a segment, and then Ash is going to weigh in on this, but before we kind of get into all this, let me introduce Ash formally. Let me show you some of his work in case you're unfamiliar. Let's cut to my screen. All right, this is the raw segment. So this is a co-host, and this is the man himself, Ash Thorp, and he's waiting in the wings. He's got his camera on, and we're going to be talking to him in a second. But in case you don't know who Ash is, let's go to his site, ashthorp.com, and let's take a look at some of his work. Very prolific creator. Wow. Woo! That was incredible body of work, you guys. Now, you know the thing that surprises me, we do share a lot of things, as I've had the opportunity to talk to Ash and hang out with him at San Diego Comic-Con. That's why I'm wearing my Batman shirt here. You guys, Batman Beyond. But the thing that surprised me about Ash is he's a nerd just like me. He's into comic books, and we both describe ourselves as failed comic book artists. He's into skateboarding, into typography and design. And so it's no surprise. I want to show you some of his work here. He's got some pretty incredible illustration skills. Look at this. This is work from his Lost Boys series. Something he did for Metal Gear Solid. Beautiful line work, typography, design, sense of color. That's a pretty awesome image. And it's the image that we use behind Ash, I think. No, it's not. It's a different one. And then he gets into doing cinematic work. And that's probably where a lot of motion designers know him from the incredible user interface work he's done. And he's gone on to consult and just do so many incredible things. Guys, let's say hello to Ash. Okay, let's cut to that screen here. Sorry. Give me 1 second, you guys. Stop the share. There he is. There he is. Can you guys see him? All right, Ash. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Sorry we got off to a late start here.
It's so nice not to be driving these things. So thanks for having me as a guest. I like to sit back, kick my feet up, watch you guys sweat. This is great.
Excellent. Now, just for our audience, I just want to let you guys know, Ash is a real trooper. he's joining us on this call, even though he's getting over a cough, and you guys might hear him
Yeah.
cough from time to time, just to let him know. So everybody
Do
on the
my
internet,
best not to.
yeah. So we're just gonna have this kind of conversation and be really loose with this part of it, right? And I think a lot of people are super excited here. You guys can read the comments and follow along. At some point in the show, I think about the halfway mark, we will open it up and invite you guys into the Zoom thing, or maybe there's a bunch of people joining us already somehow. Is that what's happening? Okay, they're in the room. I can see them filling up the room. But I'm going to kick it off. And the way that I imagine this segment going is something like this. Let me hit play here. Okay. I'll talk about something I'm very passionate about, and then Ash is going to weigh in on that, and you guys can talk, and then we're going to flip roles, and then Ash is going to speak for a bit about something that he cares about a lot, and then I will weigh in as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is some industry myths that I'd like to dispel. And the first one, I'm going to start off with this great Bruce Lee quote. He says, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Why is somebody scratchy all over the place? Where's that coming from, Otto? Just mute everybody. Everybody that's not named Ash Thorp, please mute yourself if you're in the Zoom. And don't let anybody else into the Zoom room until I tell you to. That was not supposed to happen anyways. Okay, anyways. So this is Bruce Lee. And the reason why I'm bringing this thing up is because I posted this drawing, not this exact one. I've modified it since then. And it got a lot of heat. Like, people were really upset. A lot of people felt that it was true, but a lot of people are really angry about it. And I'm not quite sure why. And let me tell you my motivation behind even designing a pyramid like this. I'm often talking to people who want to get help in leveling up. They need to get better at design. They want to be better at logo design, typography, and all that kind of stuff. And then they show me work. And the first thing I always ask them is, have you put in the time necessary to learn and master the tools and technique of your craft? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a little diagram to help people understand this, because the fun part is the self-expression, the experimentation. That's what everybody wants to do. And we think we can just start there. And I was saying, you know what, this is where I think you should start. If you're beginning, if you're trying to figure out something, whether it's about illustration, graphic design, typography, skateboarding, tennis, boxing, start at the basic parts, the fundamentals, the tools and techniques. And those things are intertwined. Like, when you learn the tools, it's very liberating. And this is where I thought, you know what? We live in this culture, this society where there's instant replay. Everything is about instant coffee and instant gratification. We want everything right now. Everything's on demand, and we want it. We want to get rich quick. We want to get fit quick, 6-pack abs in 6 weeks. We want to get good at jiu-jitsu. We want to get good at skateboarding. But you know what? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice. And I want to share a little story with you guys from my childhood. I'm a kid of the 80s, and I think, Ash, you like The Karate Kid too? Is that right?
I love that film. Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. And I hope I do this
Good
justice in explaining this part of the story, okay? And I remember, because, you know, I'm a kid, I'm watching this story, and Mr. Miyagi tells Daniel, if you want me to teach you karate, you got to do everything I tell you to do without question. So Daniel very eagerly agrees to it. And then Mr. Miyagi has him do very trivial things. He has him, the classic line, paint the fence, and then wax on, wax off. And Daniel's doing this, and then he tells him to wash the car and paint the fence and do everything very specifically, until it gets to a certain point where he gets super frustrated. He's like, you know, I came to learn karate from you because I'm just getting bullied by Johnny, and you haven't taught me anything. And he says, Daniel, wax off. And he hits him, and he says, wax off, and he's blocking. So he had been learning the basics and the fundamentals without realizing it. And that's an excellent way of teaching. But to my point, even in a fictional story like this, it's about the basics, the fundamentals. So if you guys think this doesn't ring true, please chime in. And if you believe that, yeah, this is the way to go, I'd love to hear from you as well. Already losing my voice here. And I want to tell you, people wonder, like, what is my competitive advantage? Why did I get good as fast as I got? And it's mostly because I learned the tools before going to Art Center. I learned Illustrator, I learned PageMaker. I knew the software. When my fellow students were kind of still figuring out like how to hit save on a file, I was sitting there soaking up the information from my professors. I learned things really fast, and the tools didn't get in my way because I was able to express my ideas and my thinking and experiment much quicker because I learned the tools. So here's a screen full of tools, and I want to give you guys a design school hack. I want to share this with you. Whether you're going to a formal school or you're looking towards working with a mentor, an internship, some kind of opportunity, the thing that I'm going to tell you right now is learn your tools, master your craft. And there's a bunch of resources. I realize a lot of people on the internet, despite information being so readily available, aren't aware of all the resources they have at their fingertips. So in the free column is youtube.com and videocopilot.net. Guys, go check those things out. There's a lot of excellent resources for Andrew Kramer. And for not a lot of money, there's things like Lynda, Skillshare, Udemy, Creative Live, Envato. And then on the higher end, the School of Motion, the MoGraph Mentor, Learn Squared, which is Ash's company that he's partnered up with a few folks, Grayscale Gorilla, Concept Design Academy, Schoolism, and Gnomon. I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch here, but that's just my quick list. Okay. And I want to just talk about one other thing. Mr. Danny Yount, the king of self-taught designers, when we had him in here and we were talking to him, he had said because he felt a little bit insecure that there's all these designers who went to the fancy design schools, his only way to combat that was to read the manual. He wanted to read the manual because he wanted to learn everything about the tools and to become super efficient. So he was going to be able to iterate more ideas. So if you want more proof, I don't know who else to point to but Danny Yount himself. Okay, let's cut back to Ash now. Let me get rid of this screen. Let me stop the share.
Yeah.
All right,
job on
dude.
that
Thanks, man.
presentations.
Why don't you weigh in? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, I think what's interesting about this is I'm self-taught as well, and I didn't necessarily read the diagrams and the books and stuff, but I try to find the weakest part of myself and then exploit that and just try to destroy it. So if I go with drawing or something, and if I can't go over that wall, I go underneath it or I bust through it. So for me, it's always been about how can I quickly learn this so that I can acquire that new skill to make me more useful. So I think it's really important, but at the same time, the way that I've gone through it is instead of learning by reading the manual, I kind of go, what do I want out of this? I go to the end and then I work backwards. I reverse engineer what it is that I want.
Oh, that's
So-
interesting. So you're saying
my
like
approach.
you figure out something that you want to do and then you figure out the tool to get you there?
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. So if I want to say direct, which is many different things, I first go to like a director that I admire. I look at their work, I study it, I read about them, I read their biography, all of that stuff. I try to analyze what it is that they did. Then I work backwards. I go, okay, well, they're really in, casting and story and script writing and development and the production side of things and learning all that kind of stuff. On a more simpler side of things, I guess, quote unquote simplified, is like typography, for example, learning and understanding what good type is and why it is, not just based on other people's opinions. When I was in school, I studied a lot of different designers, but one of them that came up that I was really interested in was David Carson. The reason why I thought David Carson appealed to me so much is because he had that energy.
Yep.
And he had this charisma that he brought to it. But the thing is, I think will tie into this conversation is that David already understood, from my understanding, he understood the grid, he understood the rules, then he broke them. For me, when I first looked at his work, I was like, oh, I can just do this, And so I didn't learn the rules. I went out and cheated and then eventually had to work backwards. And the moment that I really started to understand what the grid is, how the grid works, on a very surface level, I started going deeper. Then I have friends of mine that are like bona fide amazing designers that are much more into it than I am. They coached me along the way as well. And then I just learned about setting up things properly and being able to reverse engineer was really key, So, and I think that's the key for me. It's like, what do I want out of it? And then what tools, what programs, what do I need to do to work backwards to get to where I'm at now? Because I'm just basically trying to connect A with B to get C or whatever, so whatever the goal is.
So that's yet another thing that we have in common. I really looked up to Mr. David Carson. He was a trailblazer and still is in some regards. It's pretty amazing when you're a designer and you're already in the design history books as you're at the height of your career or even kind of still in it. That's just amazing to me. And being the ever vigilant student that I was, I wanted to deconstruct David Carson's work. So I remember having Beach Culture magazine, which was one of the first magazines he art directed, and Surfer and those kinds of things. I was sitting there and going through it and putting tissue paper over it and tracing his layouts. And what's surprising that most people don't get, and if you put in that kind of work, is there's this grid under everything.
Yeah.
That it seems haphazard and chaotic and very expressive, but there's a grid and there's a kind of thinking that's underlying it. And then I did some research on him, and if I remember correctly, he did study at the Basel School of Design in Switzerland. You can't get more grid than that. So I don't know how long he was there, but I think one of the things that's very much a part of the American dream and the fabric is a person of low, humble beginnings can rise to the very top of the industry, and it's all kind of this self-made thing. And I think we worship and we kind of put people up on a pedestal that are quote unquote self-taught, but in truth, it's a little bit of creative editing in terms of the mythology of the person. I would love to come out and tell you guys, I'm a self-taught designer. Aren't I incredible? It makes my story more interesting. But the minute I say I went to this super cool art school and learned from the very best instructors in my field, well, then they're like, well, duh. So I think there's a little bit of editing in terms of how people describe the self-taught, because it gives hope to everybody to reach to the very height of their industry.
Yeah.
But I loved hearing your story about how you reverse engineer. And it's shocking to me, this is how you do it, because if I were to look at your skill level in terms of like how you're able to wield your tools, it is so far in it surpasses like what I can hope to do. Like I don't have that same desire, and the things that you can do in a day, I'm just blown away by.
Thank you. That's really kind of you. And I think it's just mainly the desire. I think your desire right now is to spread what you know and help others. And that's really where your heart is. And that's what you're putting your energy and effort towards. For me, I'm kind of insular at times, and I just want to get these ideas. For the most part, I have really intense like visions or dreams or ideas. And my whole like life's purpose is to try to get out as much of that out as fast as possible. And the journey of that is learning all these things about programs, shaders, materials, lighting, 3D, CGI, rendering, all these things in order to get these ideas and thoughts out, visions out, and it's mostly like, I saw your chart and I thought that was really interesting because I have some thoughts about that, the triangle chart.
Okay, let me pull it up. Yeah, let me pull it up. Go ahead.
I'd love to see it again because I agree with a lot of it. And I think there's something really interesting, and I think there's ways to jump to different things, but I would relate it almost to jiu-jitsu, for example.
Okay, there it is.
It said that once you acquire your black belt in any martial art is the time that you can actually give back to the martial art. That's the time that you can teach, and that's the time that you can develop your style. I think a lot of people, and I think what it might happen, and I found myself doing it, is wanting to cheat things to get faster, because our society and the way we consume things is kind of like it destroys the desire to have that journey, the Rocky journey, for example. Like when we watch Rocky, he's, there's like a montage of his 6 months of training, which is actually what made him a champion, but it only is like 5 minutes of the film or 3 minutes, Right. So we don't glorify the deep, hard work, the moments where, I'm in jiu-jitsu and I'm just getting my ass handed to me. We don't want to glorify those moments. Whereas for me, I revel in those because I know those are the moments that I learn the most. And I think that's when you start to climb the pyramid properly, is when you're completely open-minded, totally unbiased, and you just accept what it is that you have in front of you and you make it happen. You put in the hard work and then you make it happen, basically. And I think that's really the trick. That's the way to get to the mastery.
You sound like Daniel and Mr. Miyagi combined in one right there. Because Daniel had to accept. The funny thing was, Mr. Miyagi was going to teach him karate on a very specific condition. He had to accept and be willing to do whatever he told him to do, because this is how he taught.
Yeah.
But then you're also saying accept it, and once you learn your craft, the way you go to the next level is you teach it, and then you develop your own style, right?
Yeah. Style is going to be something we'll probably end up touching on a little bit later on when we talk about the subjectivity of art and my whole thought process on that, and how it can be damaging and also really great for creatives out there and stuff too. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important. And if you really want to learn, you want to grow and want to be better and advance, you must remove a lot of that ego and that. The last 2 years or so of creating Learn Squared with Andrew Mache, like I've learned so much, and I've gone through like the moments of pure frustration and like rage of just being destroyed, and then moments of just complete bliss of understanding and accepting things and really coming to terms with of knowing new things and stuff. So but it's a journey, though. It really is a journey, and I think you have to accept it. But the way I work is I I look at where I want to go, and then I work backwards, and then I go, okay, who do I need to learn from? Before I worked at Prologue, I wanted to work in movies. I wanted to work with directors. I want to work in movies. How do I do that? Then I got my job at Prologue, and then how do I do that? I just work my butt off, and I learn from everybody. So that's the trick, really. I think that's the key.
Awesome, man. I want to read some of the comments that are coming on Facebook here. I'm sorry, on YouTube. I'm sorry for that horrible sound. Creative Spirits, like, I'm halfway through that period myself. Jordan Service says, such a better conversation around design creative work, even filmmaking, than 90% of the discussion. So we're feeling a little love here. Let me see where I can find the haters. Let's see if you guys are there. If you guys disagree, I'm okay with that. Let's just have a real conversation about it, you guys. I'm cool with that. Molly, did you want to say something? My team, you guys want to participate in this conversation at all? Anything? Okay, don't feel like it's like every time I tell you, it's like everybody's scrambling like roaches when the light turns on. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Go ahead. What do you want to say?
No, I just really agree with everything that you guys are talking about. Also, David Carson was a big inspiration for me too, because he, just the way that he just broke the rules and really learned his craft, learned the rules before to break them, and that was something that I really valued looking at his work. So
yeah. I mean, you can't be a designer in the 90s and not know David Carson and the name Kyle Cooper. They were kind of just really these two pillars within the design community. And what was really great about David Carson was because he had to put out a monthly magazine in Raygun, the amount of work he had to do, the experiments, and that kind of iteration allowed him just to do lots of different things. Who are you waving at there, Ash?
All the people that are
all the people
joining in the chat.
Oh, are you reading it? Can you walk and chew gum at the same time?
I'm just seeing faces pop up.
Oh, okay.
In the Zoom, yeah.
Hey, Otto,
cool.
Make up your mind. You told me to make Zach the co-host, and then now you want to be the co-host again. What do you want? Talk to me, dude.
Can you have more than one co-host?
You cannot.
Power.
I think
okay, never mind. Then let Zach be co-host.
All right. What did you say?
No, we were trying to figure out the co-host thing. Never mind.
There can only be one.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah.
There can only be one. It's like Highlander.
style.
Yeah.
There can only be one.
Can you do that in the
watched it
Sean
like
Connery
2 weeks
accent?
ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
Somebody's telling me about Aaron being 50% Hungarian. I have no idea what the context of that is. Are you guys reading any of the comments? Can I get some help and support here from my support team?
Yes.
What do we got here?
If people agree, that's great.
Yeah, if we agree, then we're going to move on to the next topic.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
how could you
there's
argue
most-
with this kind of logic? It's
There's
totally
just agreement
sound.
over here. So
Disagreement?
So
let me see from India.
yeah, there can be disagreement. I think that there's a myth and a habit. Like Tim Ferriss is really big on life hacking.
Yep.
But even when I watched some of his shows too, and even when he goes to try and hack things, like I think he tried to learn jujitsu in a week, and he learned. The thing is, when you hack things, there's certain things that you need to do, and you need to. The most important thing is you need to learn from the best. That's always the best way, directly from the best. So you have to have a mentorship with direct connection. But if you don't have those things and you're still trying to hack, you're literally just going to be a hack because you're not going to get the main source, and that's not going to make you the best possible person as fast as possible. I don't know. I could rant on about that for a while, but yeah.
Well, I want to clarify something. 3Mo Rec said, did he just call his interns like roaches, ? And he's kind of like oogly eyes. They're not my interns. This is my staff crack team. Like I said, it's a crack staff, more crack sometimes than staff, but yes.
No cockroaches.
No cockroaches. I'm just saying, when I say, you guys ready to talk? Everybody's like running around, scattering about. Okay, anyways, nothing but respect and love here. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? If we don't have any kind of strong comments from either
Nothing
of you
like
guys,
the Facebook
nothing
comments.
like, gosh, where are all those guys?
Where are they?
Where are those guys? Here's what I'm going to say, and then we're going to move on to Ash's thing about the art of subjectivity of art. Here's what I'm going to say is when I put out that pyramid, I said, here's what I think, thoughts. And then everybody thinks because I have a platform to say something to people that it's like a mandate from God. It's not. It's an open discussion. I invite comments and criticism, but then the vitriol, the kind of heated anger at me personally, I'm like, what? Let's have a discussion about it. And then with all the feedback that came in, I revised the pyramid. I changed certain parts. I put a dashed line and I put the arrows kind of linking ideas together. And that's what it's about. So here's what I'm going to say. When I ask creative people to be more public facing, to post on social media and build a following and share your process, the natural reaction from people is, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because my work is precious. And now I can understand why. You post something on the internet and people just jump on you. So here's my thing. Guys, instead of getting really angry about it and starting forums on Reddit on what it is and it isn't that you feel, why don't you counteract the things that you don't believe in by creating your own thing? Create your own video, make your own post, and then engage in a dialogue. I'm here to talk to you guys, you know? I'm just a guy, a single person trying to make it in the world and share my ideas, and hopefully this is of benefit and of help to people around the world. If it is, please tune in. If it isn't, let me know why. Talk to me, and I will do my best to change it, okay? And I think it's because I got off on a really bad foot with the whole bricklayer comment that now forever I'm painted as a certain kind of person. And
if you think that, then you should listen to the podcast we had. The first one, we demystify all that stuff. And so if you really still have that strong feelings, do some homework and listen to the podcast. Chris is a human and he has his own thoughts and opinions, and he might say one thing now and opinions change and evolve.
That's right.
And that's just how it works, you know?
That's right.
But I think that the people that would maybe perhaps try to pull you down or deconstruct what you're doing are, for a person like you who's quite prolific and loves that, I think it only makes you stronger, because it just makes you sharpen your game and understand like, and like how you revise the triangle thing, the pyramid. I mean, I think it's also a sight that it's good that you're evolving your opinions, because it makes you even better. So it's just one of my favorite sayings is iron sharpens iron, you know? Like I'm better because you're better, and we all get better because we're growing together. And I think for the most part, when people try to deconstruct things and then they're just bitching, I feel like they're irrelevant because they're not contributing. I think if you really want to be a good critic or do something good, then you need to be articulate, and then you need to counter it with a resource that's better. That's how you do it. And you can't just like blanket statement, drop things and be negative. Like that just, there's nothing good comes out of that. So that's my opinion though.
Well, Autobot, people are saying hello to you. People want you to be the co-host one day, and we'll figure that out. But can you go onto the Collective Podcast, find the episode, and provide that in the link, okay? Is that cool?
Yeah. We did 2 of them, so
there's
they're
2
all
of them.
pretty close.
The first one is the one he's talking about where we kind of dive deeper into the whole bricklayer comment. Okay, yeah. Now there's a whole bunch of people here chatting. Let's see what they have to say. You're not the admin. Okay, Zach, you're the co-host. Yeah, you're not the admin. Let's see what's going on here. All right, can you guys help me fill into that air here while I do some admin work here?
I guess.
Say that again.
You want me to talk about
some
stuff?
Yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah, you talked. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. To also talk about the idea of putting in that work, I think it's really important for us all to understand that you only, as a human, the way that our brains are programmed and how we create good habits and the way that we cognitively absorb and understand things, unfortunately, we still have to evolve via habitual habits, basically. Rituals, habits, consistent, unstoppable, relentless practice is what's going to make you really good at something.
Ash,
if you put somebody in one room and you said, practice the cello every day, and then you put somebody in a room and say, maybe practice it whenever you want, who do you think is going to get better?
Yeah.
The person that is told to do it every day and they do it every day, they're going to get better. The same goes for design, cooking, romantic lifestyle, whatever it could be. It's all about the practice, but you have to have your complete intention. You have to have pure intent, and you have to just go for it, and I think that's really the key. Without that, that's the magic formula. And I think so many people are wanting to know, like, how did you get successful? It's like, well, you weren't sitting there when I was just making crap work, and I was just relentless about it for years, but we all have to start somewhere, and that practice eventually led to getting better, so, yeah. And we all want to get better, right? I mean, Who doesn't want to get better? But it literally comes down, from my understanding, it comes down to habit, creating good habits, surrounding yourself with better people than you, and working at it humbly every day and chipping away at it. And understand that every little step you make is one step closer to the ultimate goal, which is mastery. Which I'm not sure if everybody wants mastery, but for me, that's my life's goal. When I die, I want people to go like, wow, he really went as far as he could to achieve that level of mastery.
Right. Hey, we got a question coming here. Molly, what's the question?
Yes. Someone asked you, Ash, if you were ever discouraged by how much you had to learn when you were first starting. Like, did you ever have a point where it was hard?
Okay. Let me relay that to Ash.
Okay.
So somebody wants to know, Ash, from you, did you ever have a point when you were earlier on in your career where you're really feeling discouraged? Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. That's a great question and incredibly relevant, especially for people that are still just starting out. Yeah, there was quite a few moments I remember. And I'll tell you, I'll try to keep it short, but I come from a family of artists, and as a kid, I would draw, and my family was encouraging of it because they all understood what art was to them. But I looked at my grandma and my mom and my brother. They were just incredible illustrators and artists and stuff. And I would think to myself, and they didn't do it for a living though. They had to go do other jobs and fulfill different, lifestyles because the opportunity wasn't there for them. So almost my entire childhood, I was really scared or hesitant and thinking, well, if I pick art, I'm not as good as my family, but I still love it. But if I pick it, I'm gonna really struggle. And I kept thinking about the starving artist lifestyle, basically, and my fear of that, but at the same time, just going into it. And so that was one of the things that it kind of shook me and made me work really hard. And, like a pearl's made from like long time, it comes from the sand and then eventually evolves. And that pressure, diamonds made under pressure. I have all these like things in my mind from books I read,
Right.
But I think that the key here is that I felt very vulnerable as a kid wanting to make it as an artist. And I use that vulnerability as a strength to sharpen myself, to humble myself, and to remind myself that there's always going to be somebody better. There's always going to be somebody, better in the future, better in the past. And I'm just going to do my best to be the better version of myself every day. And
Love that.
That's what helped me get through those, weak and vulnerable. If you're sitting there and your art sucks, the only thing you can do is face it and go, why is my art suck? And then go ask somebody that's professional or somebody that's better than you, go, how can I be better? And they might tell you to get out of here, and then you have to figure it out yourself. But that's where style comes from, I think, for personally being crafty and figuring out your own solutions to your own problems, but that's my thoughts on that. But no, I felt it since, and I still feel it. I love feeling inadequate. Because it makes you stronger. I look at like, let's look at like, say, Ridley Scott, for example. Like, I feel completely inadequate to that guy.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, I haven't achieved the mastery level of making films at that kind of capacity. Like, he's on a whole different realm. And so I don't know him personally, but I studied him a lot. And so I kind of have an idea. But I think feeling inadequate is important because it makes me humbled. It humbles me down, And so I want you to know, the person that asked that question, is it's good to feel that. You need to feel that. You need to have that on a daily basis, a little bit of it. But you also need to encourage yourself to continue on and remind yourself why it is that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. The reason why I chuckled a little bit when you said you feel inadequate, because I can only imagine the people who look up to you and say, well, if Ash is feeling inadequate,
Sure.
then I'm the scum on the bottom of the pond, if that's the case, But you're saying relative to another master, somebody who you really look up to, that's how
Yes.
you stay humble. So here's a comment that's coming in from YouTube, from Jesus Corona. He's like, there's a story of a Zen master who said the problem of every student is that they inevitably stop learning. They want to flatter themselves and say they know the truth. And to your whole thing about, I think it's just about being present to who you are today, and that we have a hard time. Most of us like live in the past. We think back like when we were the captain of the football team, the homecoming queen, something like that. We're always looking into the past, or we're looking to the person that we'd like to be. And it's just difficult just to be the person you are today, and just kind of take an accounting of that and just be content with that and just keep working. I love that you have all these things about the warrior spirit. Iron sharpens iron. It takes like an oyster or a clam to turn dirt into a pearl. And the whole thing about, I forgot the last one. What was the other one? The diamond, carbon under lots of pressure becomes a diamond, I think. Something like that. Okay, awesome. You know
All
what?
true heroes are made that way.
Yeah.
It's just true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to jump into your topic. I don't really need the slide for that. Never mind. Go ahead.
I mean, someone.
Oh, the subjectivity of art?
Yeah, okay. Molly, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Because someone said, I'll play devil's advocate.
Okay. You know what? I hate the devil's advocate. Is this your opinion or not your opinion? So what is the statement or the comment?
I think there's something to be said about learning your tools from experimentation, then combining that with learning through copying.
Okay. All right.
because someone said I'll play devil's advocate.
Okay. You know what? I hate the devil's.
Whose microphone is on? Guys, killing me. If they do that again, just, you know what? Don't make me angry, you guys. You won't like me when I'm angry. You just boot them out of the room. It's a simple thing. Mute yourself, mute all your things, okay? Here's the devil advocate position here, Ash, and I really want you to opine on this, okay?
Sure.
They're saying, hey, I
let's hear
believe
it.
learning through experimentation, and through experimentation, you can learn the tools. Is that what it was, Molly? Okay, that's what it was. So what do you think about that? Like, we learn through experimentation, and then through experimentation, you can learn the tools.
I wouldn't say that's devil's advocate. I think that's completely plausible, and that I learn that way as well. I learn in two different ways. I learn by analyzing and understanding things, but I also learn by experimenting. I think it's important to learn in multiple different ways. It's, again, the way I learn is it's all about reverse engineering that process, you know? So, but almost all day long is I'm experimenting. I'm trying to throw something out there and seeing what happens coming back, you know? But it's at the same time, I must be clear that I've understood a lot of the basic fundamentals, so I can experiment and can break things, you know, because it allows me to. So that's just something I think is key to that. So,
you know,
that's
I have
not really devil's advocate. That's the way I work, though. So.
Okay, well, I want to clarify some things, but I have a friend who's a jiu-jitsu practitioner, James Levy. He was telling me about how you learn jiu-jitsu. And when you go to class, first you start on your knees. You don't start standing and throwing people around because you can really hurt yourself. To me, the parallel is if you're a new person to the industry and you want to go and just throw down with a black belt, you're going to get hurt in lots of different ways. Not because he's trying to hurt you, because you don't even know the fundamentals. So you start at the very bottom and you work your way up. That's what I'm an advocate for. And when you talk about experimentation, the assumption for my part is you know the tools already to a degree, and then now you're trying to use all the tools that you know to create a look or an effect or an idea that you've seen that you want to try to do, or something you just have in your mind. But imagine saying to somebody who, like saying to my mom, for example, who's not the most computer literate person, to say, you know what, I want you to go create this frame that Ash did. She wouldn't even know where to begin, and then the frustration sets in. And what I see, and I'm being slightly judgmental here, or judging, is I see a lot of really bad art. I see a lot of people experimenting and not learning any of the fundamentals. They don't understand how to use a grid or even how to pick a good typeface to begin with. That's what I'm seeing, because they want to have fun.
Yeah, they want their cake and eat it too, and you can't blame them. And if they're doing it, there's two different things. I think if you're doing your art just to do it, to express yourself and to have fun and be cool and enjoy the process of it, then I throw my hands up and say, go for it. You know, go have fun.
Go have fun.
It, you know, if you're going out there and trying to make a stand and deliver something and be keen on, like, you know, this is me, and you want to change and shake up things, then you got to understand where you're coming from and understand your basis. It's all about your intention. You know? Yeah. And I think if you're going out there and you're saying that I'm the best or something like that, and your work is all whack, well, then you're not. And we all know it, and that's just kind of funny. And then we can all just sit back and laugh about it. But because the true people, the real people, the people that really know these things, they know if people are legit or not.
Right.
You know? So,
and look, I'll say this, guys, use whatever learning method model works best for you. This is somebody who wants to learn from me and kind of follow in my footsteps. This is how I've done it. This is how I'm recommending you do it. But to all people, there are different learning models, and I'm not saying that there's one or the best one. This is the one that's best for me. Okay, so there's a funny comment here from Jinopa. He's like, I just came from walking outside and I just got a notification. I've never run back home so fast in my life. Boom. Jordan Service. I had a drawing teacher that told us we are not making art. We are just practicing skills. That was great advice to free the student from the burden of creating art and just focus on the skills. What do you think?
Yeah, that's good, because it allows you to isolate. You know, so many times when you come to a situation of a blank piece of paper, your insecurities, whatever, will overtake you, and you won't know where to start. And sometimes it's important to go, okay, deep breaths. Okay, let me grab the pencil. You know, you take it, you turn it into steps, you know. And there's so many things that we take for granted that we do naturally on a day-to-day basis that are incredibly complex, a la walking, breathing, blinking, all these things. So we understand that when we were babies, when we were born, we weren't professionals at walking. We had to learn it through falling. The same thing is with being creative, the same thing with running a business. You must embrace the fail in order to achieve the high success, and that's part of the journey. That's part of, how to get better. It's just not glorified. It's not cool. It's not sexy.
It's not sexy at all.
No, it takes a long time. It
does.
takes a lot of stress. It's a lot of torture, but you get there eventually, and I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think it's very frustrating when you're doing drills and fundamentals that you don't see the progress that you'd like to make. But when you start throwing paint or typography on a screen, you see progress or what looks like progress. Yeah. It's not fun. Sure. It's grueling. A couple things here. One, I want to let you know that Andres says the Learn Squared Army is here in full support. So boom, they got your back. Awesome. Ash's army is out in full force. I love it. Molly, you want to say something?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have another question. I know you kind of touched on this, Ash, but they're asking, how do you keep learning now that you're already great at what you do?
Oh, love that question. Who asked that?
Starry Tooth. I don't want to.
Oh, yeah, fine, whatever. Okay. All right, somebody's asking, now that you're already great, how do you keep learning? Is that what?
Yeah.
How do you keep learning? How do you keep growing as an artist?
Thank you so much. I really don't. I don't want to be self-deprecating and sound like.
Don't do it. Don't do it, dude.
No, but I don't. I think that I still have so much further to go, and so when you ask me that question, I appreciate. That's very it's very kind of you, and thank you for that kind comment. I think for me, it's there's so many things that I'm not good at. When I look at, let's say, Frank Frazetta's paintings or something, I can't paint like Frank Frazetta. So then Frank Frazetta is better than me. Let's say I look at like a Swiss grid master designer. I don't know it as intense as that person. So I have to go and put the time in to get that good. I think for me, I'm constantly humbled by the fact that there's so many amazing people out there doing amazing things. Like right now, I'm starting to study a little bit of like how the YouTube people do it, and that's something that is totally new to me, understanding how to entertain, how to engage people, and how to share knowledge and teach and stuff. That's a whole different skill. So for me, there's just too much to learn. I'll never feel completely great. There's too much to learn. There's too many things to acquire. There's too many projects to want to do, too many skills to want to acquire. So yeah, it's never ending. So.
Great. I think we have a super chat thing. You guys want to, what is it saying?
Patrick said that as someone who has been practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 8 years, I've learned from my professors that it's about embracing the grind. You have to become obsessed to become great.
Okay. So Patrick is saying that he's been doing jiu-jitsu for over 8 years and he's learned to embrace the grind. If you embrace the grind, you become great, right? There's a lot of metaphors here. Iron sharpens iron, jiu-jitsu, sports, art, design, Mr. Miyagi. It's all good. I have to get to your whole topic. I want to make sure you have room to talk about it.
Before we do that, though, the one thing I want to say about that is, as an artist, I look at myself as, like, I study Olympic athletes, right? And I think about, what does an Olympic athlete have to go through to be the world's best? And I apply all that knowledge to art. Not a lot of artists do that. And I think that's really a competitive edge that you can have, is understanding what a brilliant athlete or a brilliant person who's completely devoted and dedicated to their craft, how do they create those habits, those daily habits, those weekly habits? When I first was starting out, my biggest fear was artist block, and I was thinking that art just comes from muse, it just kind of comes out.
Right.
It's all bullshit. That's not even true. That's literally like a self-deprecating bad issue that I think a lot of people use as an escape to be great. And I think what I've found out is that a lot of prolific athletes and prolific people, Michael Jordan, all these people that I studied, they were only good because they put in the time and they had their daily regimen. Those, I think it was like Kobe Bryant. He wakes up and he was like doing like 1,000 shots a day or something before anybody even started, or 7,000. I don't even know, but that's why he's so good. He's good because of that. And I go, okay, well, how can I apply that to being an artist? Because I know so many artists, they don't think like this. They don't think as a prolific mind. You need to think like this to be the best. You have to think, how serious do I need to put my time in? And maybe a future episode we could do, Chris, is we can break it down. I have like my daily planner and how I create that prolific lifestyle, and work on building that into my art career and stuff. I don't know if that's something of interest for you guys, but okay. So the
Molly, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying that the people would love that, because someone was just asking if you could, what was your like daily routine to stay on track
So you guys make a note of that. We'll do that in a future episode where
Okay.
Ash will share with us his daily routine. You guys are gonna see an insane guy, and we're kind of insane together because he'll text me at 2 a.m. and I'm texting him back. It's just stupid. I mean, I don't know what we're doing, right?
Bro love.
Let's do it.
Bro
Let's
love.
do it.
They're
Let's get
robots. You don't sleep.
We're robots. We're not human.
Yeah.
All right, Ash.
aren't.
Let's get into the subjectivity of art. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Chris and I were texting back and forth throughout the week. Chris is very concise about how he wants to deliver this information to you guys. We're really lucky to have somebody like Chris to really facilitate it. And he, instead of me, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just talk about this random things and hopefully it's good. He was like, let's have a specific topic. And so we kicked around a lot of topics. We'll probably come to some of those again in a later date if you'll have me back on the show and you guys like it. But the one that we're going to focus on today is I thought it would be interesting to talk about the subjectivity of art and how I found it to be really interesting in my whole thought on the subjectivity of art and what that means for a designer, artist, creative, concept artist, whatever, a person in the industry, a fine artist, all that stuff. And every time I think about the subjectivity of art, I think about one artist that comes to mind really clearly is Van Gogh, for example. When I was in college, in school, there's these certain names. It's like Michael Jackson, it's like King of Pop, and who put that in my head? That's a subjectivity, Somebody said that he's the King of Pop, and then you just agree to it. The thing with Van Gogh is the same thing. I feel like I've seen his work in person. I've studied him. I understand the whole story as best as I can, and I felt that his art never really moved me. I love the idea and the story behind it, but it never moved me, emotionally. And I think the key that I'm getting at here is being aware of how subjective people are pushing on their ideas on your art. And so in a generation right now, everybody's like a bona fide critique master, knowledge-based pro, because they watch the YouTube video and everything on the internet's the truth.
Yeah.
Which is the truth,
Right.
What I'm getting at, and my goal with this at the end of this for you guys to take is don't believe everything you hear from me, from Chris, from anybody. Have your own opinions, have your own thoughts on things. What makes you happy? If you're into My Little Pony, then like go for it, don't let anybody stop you from being into those things, And so the subjectivity of art is really interesting because if you can really understand it and you can really kind of pull on it and use it to your advantage, you can have an amazing career because you don't have to necessarily be the best. You have to say you're the best and you have to get the right people behind you, pushing you and say, I'm the best, And so that's where it gets kind of shady and shifty and stuff. And I think it's really interesting. And people might argue, but I don't think Van Gogh was a master. I think use him as a case study, I think he was an artist that really didn't figure out what it was that he really wanted to do. And I don't want to ever be that. So I studied him in a sense to go like, I don't want to be that guy. I want to figure out success while I'm here. I don't want success after I'm dead because that does nothing for me. But now everybody says he's really important. So they put him in the textbooks and, he becomes the King of Pop or whatever, So the subjectivity of art is really interesting. And I think it's really important for us all to have the opinions that we have based on what inspires us or gets us creatively developed or pushed or whatever. It could be a short story or a poem, or it could be an amazing animation or whatever you're interested in, just follow that because that's what matters. And if the film that you love the most gets like 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, then who gives a shit? Who cares?
There's a piece on that. I think this was maybe on NPR, one of those programs where this film, I can't remember what film it was horrible. It's like the lowest score and there's a cult following for this film. It's so poorly acted and directed. It's
Sure.
horrible. And there's a whole community that celebrates how bad it is. And it's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but
Yeah.
like worse. Okay.
Yeah.
So Molly,
there's
you
an
have
audience for everything.
Yeah, I
there
have a
is.
question,
Go ahead.
another question.
Go ahead.
From Twitch, actually.
From Twitch?
Can you guys comment on the people who become technically good but have nothing to
Oh.
say or express, lacking the emotional
Here we
aspect?
go. We're not on the subjectivity of art, but okay.
Sorry.
They want your opinion on, can you talk about people who are technically very good, proficient with the tools, but have nothing to say? They have no contribution in terms of art or design.
Yeah, that's a great topic because it's almost like I encounter these people in like the car community. You know, I'll go to like a car show or something like that, and then I go, cool car, and they go, thanks. I'm like, you didn't build it, you didn't make it, you just managed to figure out how to get money to buy it, but not giving you the props. I'm like literally saying that car is cool, you know. And so what I'm getting at is I feel like a lot of technical people, they're kind of like that person, and it reminds me of like the Nirvana song, like he's the one who likes all our pretty songs but doesn't know what it means. It's like you have the knowledge to remember the songs, but you don't know what the song is about and what it means to just what that real deep, what the theme of these things are. So I think it's good that you know those things, but if you have nothing to say, then what's the point? You know, I've had this argument many times about the everydays. You know, I've mentioned it many times on the Twitch streams and stuff. And one of my friends is Mike. He's the one that started these everydays. If you guys are familiar with, there's this guy named Mike Wiekelman. He's Beeple. He makes this art every day.
Oh, Beeple's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah.
But the thing with Beeple is he just makes art, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, what are you trying to say? You know, and there comes a level where you go, okay, what are you trying to say? And finding that. So it's good to know the techniques and all the information and how to push the buttons. But if you're in a spacecraft and you know how to push the buttons, but you don't know where you're going, then you're just going to float in space. So you should really understand where you're going. You need to have the destination. You need to understand what it is that you're going and have that focus and really understand what that is and make it happen.
Great.
Because, yeah.
I want to, Aaron, can we do split screen? Are we prepared to do split screen? Let's do that. Let's throw that out. So here's one where I may have a slightly different point of view on this, you guys. So I'm going to speak to the camera right now. Why does it matter to you what other people are doing? If somebody's an artist, if somebody's a technician, I just say let it go. It's what do you got to like? Do you have all that extra energy and passion and drive and free time in your life that you got to worry about what other people are doing? So if somebody's doing something and they're rewarded for it, even though their work is soulless and it's technically correct but doesn't say anything, I'm okay with that, man, because there's space in the world for all kinds of flavors. That's why there's more than one flavor of ice cream. Okay, so there's that part. The other part too is I appreciate, to be honest, people who are very good craftspeople, people who are technically just know the ins and outs of the software, because then I have an idea, but I don't know how to make it. And this person might not have the idea, but they know how to make it. So I say, let's get together. Let's produce something together. Let's collaborate. And I like that aspect of it. The world doesn't need to all be master technicians and also skillful and artful and know all there is to know about design, composition, and storytelling. So I think the world is much more beautiful for having a lot of variety of people. And this is why I think, you know what, I'm just sharing my point of view as Ash is sharing his point of view. And you guys need to kind of figure out what works for you. And if you can glean two things from what Ash says, even if you hate him, then that makes you stronger. So focus on the two things he says that gives you power and gives you a direction versus the 80 other things that he's saying. And I'm using Ash's name, but it's really me. If you hate everything that I say, but you can pick up like one little morsel, a gem, take that bad boy and do something with it and throw out the rest. So, you know, just like filter it out. But instead, what happens in this kind of culture that we've created with instant sharing, social media, everybody's an expert, everybody's a critic, anonymously hiding behind weird usernames, right? When they get in front of me, let's just talk. I'm just a normal person. I'm a human being. I cut if you know, I bleed if you cut me. Let's just have a conversation. It's totally cool. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, man?
No, and to your point, I think that's great. Not everybody needs to be this prolific, amazing, Ridley Scott, creative, God kind of person, whatever. So I think it's fine, and I think that there is a place for everybody. And I think if you're one of those people that is technically savvy, embrace that. If what you love to do is just really geek out and know everything about a program, be into that, because there is a place for you, you know, in the wheel of creation, you know. So I'm just saying that if you're out there and you're creating this stuff and it makes you insecure that you want to make more, then literally go and find your voice, find your destination. Why is it? What is it that you want to say? What is it we're trying to do? And you might find out too that nobody likes what you have to say, and you have to be okay with that. You have to just go, well, you know, I've tried and this is who I am, and accept that and just be, you know, take that along for the journey and stuff. So I think there's like Chris was saying, there's room for everybody. There's room for all different types, different skill levels and interests. And I think that combined, that's what makes it really great, you know. So when you watch a movie and you see all those names at the end, you're right there.
Right.
You could fit in there because there's so many people there. The ratio of you fitting into that category of somebody in that category is possible. So not everybody is going to be the director or the main actor or something like that, but it doesn't mean that they're less of quality. It's just a matter of what their desire is, you know? So.
Yes. Okay, let's do this. Let's turn it over to all the people who are in the Zoom room who have been super patient. Here we go. And if you guys screw this up, we will kill that feature really fast. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to open up to you guys. Here's what we're going to do, guys. I'm going to unpin Ash in 1 second. I'm going to go to gallery view. Okay. Now you guys raise your hand digitally. And if you know how to do that, you're a veteran of this room. If you want to talk to Ash and ask him a question, I'm going to tell you guys right now, just ask the question. Don't tell me your life story. I'll cut you off and bounce you out of the room. That's how we're going to do this. Ultra militant style. Yes. Yes, sir. Does anybody want to Ash? I can't even say that. That's like an ask Ash. I can't say it. It's a tongue twister. Okay. Raise your hand digitally. Digitally. You guys know how to do that. Figure out that feature.
There's a little button.
There's a little button, you guys. Figure it out.
Bottom right
First
corner.
one to figure that out, you get to ask your question. If not, there we go. Boom. Senpai. Okay. So I'm going to lower your hand. I'm going to unmute you. Unmute audio. And here we go. I'm going to pin your video. Pin the video.
Hello, Ash.
All right. Ask your question before you get bounced. Ask your question. Go.
Oh.
All right. So what I want to ask is, when you reach a point that you feel, when you reach a point that you feel stuck and you want to go deeper, how do you, like, what are the steps you usually take to reach like the mastery that you strive to achieve? So like, if you're doing logo design and you get stuck at a specific point, like how do you push?
Okay. Did you hear that, Ash? It was a little choppy.
Yeah,
a little choppy.
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah. When you hit that wall and you want to achieve that mastery, what do you do? I think for me, the way that I work is that I usually have 2 to 3, maybe 5 projects that this going on at the same time. And so what I do is when I hit a wall with one, I take a break to get some mental release, because what it usually means is that I'm focusing too hard on trying to find the solution. And if the solution isn't presenting itself to me in a natural way, I usually need to step away from it. And rather than stepping away and completely disconnecting from work totally, I'd go to another project and I focus on that. And by the time I come back to that problem, it's easy, or I figured it out, or I've had a thought about it, and it helps me be better at approaching how to solve it, basically. So my standpoint is I like to have multiple different things that, you know, help distract me when I hit a wall. So that's a great question.
That's an awesome answer, dude. You did a great job. I was like, what the hell is he going to say?
That is an awesome answer.
That's
I feel like I do similar.
Let's throw some applause on that. Where's my applause? Oh, there it is. Is any of it coming out? No, it's a little quiet. Let me turn it on. There it is. Okay. I want to say this, you guys. There's a book called A Smile in the Mind, and there are the legends of design, graphic design. And in one of them, one of the legends said the same thing. He's like, I like to work on many things at the same time because inspiration from one project will drive the other and back and forth, so you never get stuck. Okay. I wish I could read all the comments that are coming on YouTube. A lot of support, lots of love. I'm really feeling it.
Thank you guys.
Now,
appreciate it.
Luis Delgado is saying, we're asking, are your visions clear because of your tool mastery? What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I think it helps, right? You know, you have the vision, okay? So you have the vision. Okay, I let's say hypothetically, I imagine a cloud, right? So I have this perfect cloud, but it's shaped perfectly, and I have all this stuff. The tool is what helps me get there. I heard this whole carpenter and the nail analogy, and somebody's like, well, you can't have the carpenter without the nail. And I said, well, you can't have either without making the house. So you have to understand the carpenter needs the nail to make the house. And you have to understand that the tool is just as important as understanding it, but together they make the house. So you have to understand, for me, it's like having the understanding of the tool helps me imagine and create the cloud. So it comes from my head out to you guys. So it's really important to know the tools.
Yep. Okay.
It's very important.
I love that analogy.
Molly's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Let me give you an analogy. Can I try?
Let me hear it.
Let me spin mine. Mr. Cloud. Let me see if I can put my spin on that. I look at it like this. If you want to be a poet, you need to learn a couple of things. You need to have vocabulary. And to me, that's the tool, the vocabulary, the grammar, sentence structure, the basic foundational rules. But to write poetry, there's that extra concept, the idea, the emotion that you have to bring to it. So when you learn the tool, it's extremely liberating because you don't feel no longer hindered. And I see this in the faces of my students at Art Center, where they would try to come up with an idea, and I was like, that feels very safe to me. Let's push. Let's have fun. But then they said, well, I don't know how to make that. I'm scared that if I make it in my frame, then I have to animate and produce it. I said, let's worry about that later. You're designing down to your skill level. Let's design above your skill level, and let's rise to the occasion. So the tools can be very liberating if you know them really well. Okay? All right. Let's keep going. Now, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have to bounce. What time do we have to get you out of here for your next thing?
I have like 20 minutes or so.
So we can run till 11:30?
Yeah, we can go a little over if you need to.
Okay, great. Let's get somebody else in the Zoom. Okay, Alexander's been very patient, so I'm going to lower his hand, unmute him, unmute the audio, and pin you up. Alexander, you're ready with your question, right? Fire away, man. Go.
Hey, Ash, hello. You've been, at the beginning of this conversation, you've been telling that when you start doing the project, you have that thing in your mind and you have that idea very clear. But as every designer, I think, start the project, you have just an idea to create some good things, right? Mm-hmm. But you actually don't know the end of goal. So my question is, how do you set up those rules that will identify that end up goal? And if on that bumpy road of achieving that kind of goal, you're going to face something that you won't be able to overcome, what are you going to do? Like, how do you manage those things?
You know, that's a great question too, and it's a big subject to kind of cover, and it's so hard for me to answer that because it's so based on particular events, right? And so everything is different. Every design is so unique. So the way that I approach roadblocks is I hit them head first, I smack into them, and then I try to first use everything that I can to try and plow through that issue, whatever it might be. And then if I can't, then I gather a team or a group of people and we climb over it or break the wall or whatever. But the thing is, acknowledging that the wall exists is the most important thing. And then the second is figuring out your way around it, over it, around it, underneath it, whatever it might be. And if you can't do it yourself, then I usually acquire the knowledge and skill from other people to help me get there. Does that make sense?
Is it like the most of the time that you start doing the project, you hit the wall? Is it like Chris Q was just saying, like you try to push yourself above that level that you are right now? So basically every project has to be something that we're going to push you above the level that you are right now, right? So
yeah,
it's basically is it like always you have that clear vision of the idea that you have that in your mind when you start the project?
Well, there's client projects and then there's personal projects. I'll talk a little bit more about the personal projects. That's where I feel like I grow the most. When I do personal projects, I look at all my weaknesses. I go, okay, well, I'm not really good at modeling. I'm not good at UV, and I'm not good at texturing and all that stuff. And so I go, I'm going to use this project to sharpen my sword. It's basically going to be the thing that makes me sharper. So at the end of this project, I'm going to be able to do X, X, and X. I'm going to be that much stronger. There was a story, I grew up in Hawaii, and there's a story about King Kamehameha. He's the king of the islands, basically. And what he did is there was a time where there's multiple different kings living on different islands, and he didn't like that because they were splitting up the power. So he invited them all one by one to his place as come to my house or my refuge for like a party celebration. Then he ended up killing each one of them. So that's basically my approach, is I kill off each one of my weaknesses. I invite them, I see them, I find them, and then I kill them off so that I can get better.
Cut the fat.
Yeah, cut the fat, basically. So whatever your weakness is, which we all have them, you have them, I have them, identify them, go, okay, well, I really suck at typography, whatever it might be. So I'm going to use this project, this next one. It could be a small one, a big one, or whatever. Or it could be a big group. It could be something, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use this project to sharpen that skill. I would say that's what I would do, is practice on your weaknesses to get better so that you're ever evolving, So
do you find yourself comfortable? Do you find yourself comfortable to work with a team or on your own? This is
I like working with both. I'm a little bit different though. So like, I'm so particular that I know exactly what it is that I want in my head. So it's hard for me to find partners because I'm also trying to liberate people. So like, I'm like, do what I have in my head, but also be great, So I have a hard time understanding the proper way of, because directing is basically the role of extracting the best out of your people,
Right.
and doing the best that you can. And that's literally communication. So sometimes I like to just work insular and work with like just a friend or completely by myself, because then I can control it all. It just works a lot slower because then I can't pass off, some of the responsibilities and stuff. So yeah, it varies. But these are great questions, and did I answer it okay somewhat?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Thanks
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here, and I hope that maybe you can do a personal project or something to find your weaknesses and then exploit them by using a personal project to smash through them, and accept that the wall is there, but always understand that there's a way around it. You just have to figure it out. I always say that there's brilliant ideas floating around us at all times.
You have to make a decision if there's something.
You have to be able to see it and then believe it and then bring it into reality. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, awesome, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, the internet's telling me that when I'm speaking on Zoom, because there's a delay on the Zoom and this mic, Aaron, you have to kill this mic when I'm speaking to Zoom. You understand what I'm saying? Because as they hear it through YouTube, and then they're going to hear the little delay back in the Zoom call. So we'll have to figure this out audio-wise, guys. Sorry about the echo effect. Let's go to our next caller, and then we're going to try and wrap it up. So it's between Alexander and Aaron. I don't know who raised their hand first. Since Alexander has video, I'm going to just pick the person who's turned on the camera, okay? So let me turn you on, unmute your audio, and spot pin you. You ready, Alexander? Whoa. Hold on. Don't get kicked out of this room. Mute yourselves. Zach, bounce him. Bounce that person right now. Zach, thank you. They're gone. All right. They're still there, Zach. I just want to talk to one person. There we go. Go ahead. You're on. Go.
I think it's Senpai.
Senpai? Is it Senpai, dude? You want to get bounced? Look at Zach. Look at Zach's eyes. Hold on. Let me pin Zach's video. Give me 1 second. Look at Zach's eyes. He's like looking very intently. Zach, give me your eyes again. Give me your eyes.
I can't find him.
Oh, come on, dude. I'm going to bounce you. Come on. Find the guy and bounce him. Okay. I got to switch back to the view here. Okay. Where's Alexandru Molnar? Okay.
There's also a couple comments on YouTube. I don't know if we're going back.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Ash.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Okay, let's unmute your audio and pin. People don't understand the rules. I run a tight ship. Let's go. Alexander, go ahead.
I like it. I'm under pressure.
Go ahead, dude. Speak.
Uh-oh. Maybe his mic's not hooked up.
What's going on? I can't hear anything. Nope. Okay. There goes your chance, buddy.
No.
All right. It's
You
like
gotta get your mic set up, bud.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to mute you again. You guys figure out your mic. Okay. Then we're going to Aaron. So unmute your audio. Boom. And then I can't pin you because there's no video for you. Okay, go ahead. Aaron, ask your question.
So sometimes when you get something like, let's say, a design brief from your client, and they have a specific sense, okay, what they want, and but you kind of advise them, okay, this might be the better way to go, and it might benefit them in the better way, but and they kind of don't listen to you. So what do you do then?
Sure. When you get paid to do something, it's basically, it's a funny term that I use, but it's art prostitution. So you get paid to do that one thing and you have to do it. Okay. Yeah. So the way that I work with clients is that I'm there to do as they request, right? But sometimes I need to remind them that they've hired me because I have a certain skill set that they lack. And so, but not saying, hey, you suck, I'm better than you, that you can't do that. You have to figure out a way of massaging it. So this is my approach that hopefully you can use, is that you always do what they've asked for because that's what they're paying you for. And if you don't, that's just rude. The next thing is that you deliver to them the second version, the version that you want. So you go, let's say they want, hey, can you deliver this one design? Say, sure, you could do it. And then what you do is like, hey, I also had a little time. I did this on my own time. And this is kind of what I was thinking. Maybe this is something that, use your work to support your thing rather than the words. You'll win them over a lot easier that way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If that
All right.
helps.
All right. Good job.
Good question.
Good question, man. Good job. Good job. And you came in strong. You asked your question. You're out. Good job. Boom. Boom. All right. You know, if we're going to have Ash on more often, I need some blade on blade sound effects, you guys. Iron sharpens iron, all that kind of stuff, okay?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we do. Spencer Foster's like, dude, we need a Chris and Ash episode every month. So if you guys enjoy this episode, show it to me.
They want to see a
share.
snapshot of
Let's do it.
Ash's schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't hear this, Ash, so I'm going to say this to you now. And I guess we're going to get a little echo effect here. Pardon me, you guys. So here's the deal. They want to see a day in your life, a video. And if you want, we can air it on our network because we do this thing where it's a day in the life of a designer, day in the life of a creative director, that kind of thing. I have yet to make mine.
I saw that one.
Yeah. Could would you consider doing something like that?
Yeah. It'd be cool. It'd be cool to share that.
I'm a little unconvinced by his response. I'm
not sure if he really wants to.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, kind of
I'm
like
always super hesitant,
a root canal and then this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always super hesitant. There's a band called Tool that I grew up listening to that I really loved. And the thing that I loved about them is they were so mysterious, so that I painted my own vision of them. And so I worry that if I give too much stuff out, then it's like, oh, well, Ash is blah, blah, So, but I think I've already gone too far anyways. So I'm kind of like, I've jumped into the chocolate river. I might as well just eat the chocolate. So, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
The man of mystery, come out behind the curtain and show the people that you're just a normal human being.
Yeah, because comment.
Sure. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, I just have to find time to do that, record it and all that stuff too. So.
Yeah. Okay, Molly, you're going to say something.
Oh, yeah. It's because someone on YouTube also wanted to know how he splits up his day.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people asking the same thing, how you split up your day.
And how long a personal project
We'll have to do a full episode on that.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Okay.
That would be really good.
Let's do it.
If you guys want to, we can do a full episode on that. That was something I was thinking about making an episode on anyways, because I think it's really important. I've extracted a lot of information from a lot of books and a lot of friends and a lot of prolific people that I know to be a beast as best as I can, so yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Let's take a couple more questions from YouTube or Facebook. Who's monitoring Facebook?
We're
Nobody?
both like.
I am looking at it.
You are? Okay. Good. Look, we're like multitasking. We're crazy here.
Someone wants to know what's
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Go ahead, Molly.
A moment that he's very proud of, like something that shaped.
Oh, that question. Okay, here we go. Somebody wants to know, what's the moment that you're really proud of?
Oh, that's a great one. A moment that I'm really proud of should come faster than this, right?
No, every time somebody asks us, like, what's your worst moment? What's your favorite moment?
Yeah,
those
those
things,
are hard.
Yeah, you have to kind of take
really
inventory of your
difficult.
life. Just something that you thought was cool. That's a little easier to answer.
I'd say a really proud moment was just recently in my life, and it's not even art related. I guess it is, but it's I just recently got my purple belt, and that was pretty amazing. And my coach, he gets all emotional because he doesn't promote much. Like he waits till you're really good at the level that he's going to give you, then he gives you the belt. And it's like we're family. And so I just got my purple belt. So if you don't understand how the belt system works, you start off as a white belt, and then you go to blue, then purple, brown, and black. There's 5 belts. I'm in the middle, and right now I can basically teach, and I can run a school if I want, all that stuff too. But yeah, he got all emotional, teary-eyed, and so did I, and it was a big deal. And like, I think for me that was a big special moment that I can think of that I was really quite proud of. That's not necessarily art related. I'm so hard on myself with the art though. I'm like never proud of anything. I'm just wanting to get better. So, but that was a proud moment for me. Yeah. Good question.
Congratulations on the purple belt.
Thank you so much.
I admire that you put in the work necessary to get that. I'm
5
just,
years, man.
Yeah, I'm just a fan of mixed martial arts. I don't actually do anything, so I'm just a fanboy.
I think you'd love it.
Yeah.
I think you'd really love it.
My old bones. Okay, what else? What else we got? We got a super chat coming in here. Okay, here we go.
What's a super chat?
Super chat is a thing where if you donate a certain amount of money, it promotes your question. So I see it pop up above everything else because the comments come in really fast. Bin Fam asked, when's our Future and Learn Squared workshop happening?
Yes. Yeah, we just have to talk about it. I need to get Chris aligned with Michelle and Andrew, and we all need to sit down and just have it figured out. I think the cool thing is like between Chris, myself, Andrew, Michelle, Nick Campbell, Joey from School of Motion, all these guys, we're all kind of just friends, and we share things, and we basically have a pure intention to just kind of give you as much knowledge as possible to help you along the way. So it's just a matter of time, really. So Yeah, it would be fun though. But until then, in the interim, we have these, you know,
right.
We have these things where we're exchanging ideas and trying to help you out on a personal level as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on that. Ever since getting to know Ash, getting on his podcast and then continue our conversation offline, online, in person, all that kind of stuff, we've been thinking like, how could we combine our two schools of influence, our pools of people and the things that we're passionate about? And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out like, what is that thing? So this is the dilemma that I think a lot of artists face. You think of this grand vision and then you never get started. So my way of overcoming that is just to get started. So we started chatting and said, you know, I'm doing this live stream 3 times a week now. Why don't you pop in from time to time and just be a co-host with me? Let's rock that. And we see how it goes. So small steps leads to something potentially greater. And you guys are seeing it too. You're saying, hey, is that a possibility? And most definitely, it's something that's on our mind, right? For sure.
Great that you guys plugged into that too. So that's cool. You're on the same wavelength that we're trying to figure out. So yeah.
Okay, I just got another super chat from Scientist X with a unit of currency I'm not familiar with, but it says 300 something. I hope it's 300 million, but no, that's not it. It says, hey Chris, thanks for letting me in the meeting. This was the second time, hence I knew the protocol and I asked the question directly. Thanks to both of you for an amazing platform. All right, I'm glad you got in. You know the drill. All the veterans of the show know, you know, you got to come in strong with your question or I'm going to get irritated. So good job, man. Good job. Bravo.
Yeah,
someone
good job.
from YouTube's asking,
YouTube, go ahead.
What's the future look like for motion designers in 10 years?
Okay, I love this. This is it. We're going to close the show on this, man. This is it. This
Great.
is a strong question. Somebody on YouTube had asked, what is the future of motion design look like in 10 years? Boom. You take it, man.
A lot of automation is going to happen. The things that are quite difficult and trivial now, a la, you know, pushing buttons and making things move, it's going to disappear. A lot of it is. I think that a lot of the market, from my perspective, is going to shift into a new way of consuming things, which is going to be more in the fully immersive AR, VR realm. And so you have to think about what motion means in that realm. And if you've ever tried a VR, AR headset, you understand that things have to move in a different way. It's a completely different dynamic. It's not, because we have a whole thing that happens with our equilibrium and all that stuff. So I feel that a lot of automation is going to consume a lot of jobs. You got to be cautious. You got to be a thinking, prolific mind. You have to have an original idea and a style and a tone. It's just like you look at Disney, when Walt Disney, when they were doing the hand drawing stuff. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but it went to Pixar, which is just as hard, different thing, you know? And so you just be cautious of how things are shifting. And now everything seems to be digital. When's the last time you see a cell animated cartoon, like a big one? It hasn't happened in a long time because the digital game came up and shook it up a little bit. I think it's the same thing. Same thing's going to happen. History repeats itself. So, but I think what I'm getting at here is that the way we consume things is going to change, and that's going to change the way that we interact with the content that we make. So I think the key is to be aware of that, cognizant of it, and as you develop yourself, to be aware that you need to be unique and original in order to stay resilient and effectively useful, basically. So, yeah. How about yourself, Chris? Where do you think it's going?
That was a very articulate answer and not one I was expecting from you. You were like ready to go with that on the spot. Here's my take on it, is that if you try to project anything out in 10 years, all I know is it's going to be radically different than what it is today. So if your career is banked on doing what you see today, you're going to be in deep trouble. Here's the one bit of good news I have for you guys, is that video is going to eat up the world. Right now, we can see that video, in terms of how we market, how you talk, how you share your story, is the most natural medium. And this is why films continue to be very popular. It's a storytelling vehicle. But what you need to do is to learn how to produce things in a lot faster way and of higher quality than the way you're doing it today, because speed is going to be key. We hear of companies out there now that are producing 8-10 videos a day to just kind of keep up with demand for advertising and commercial content. But it's very different than the old model, which you would take 5, 7, 8 weeks to produce something that is spectacular. So there's going to be this sliding scale of speed and quality. Where we net out on that, I'm not sure. Of course, if at the very highest end for the largest companies in the world, like Apple or Sony or something like that, or Microsoft, they're always going to want to be the cream of the crop, and they will pay money and they will take the time to craft it. But for everybody else in between, there's a lot of opportunity for you guys, but you have to learn to embrace a slightly different model. That's my prediction.
I would say one other thing too, if it's okay.
Of course.
I would say that no matter what you do in life, if you do it with pure intention and you really absolutely are completely compelled by it and love it, there is a market for you. There's never been a better time in our entire species than now, because the internet allows this. So if you are really great at something, there is a market for you. It just depends on how much money you want to make and the pool you want to pull and all that stuff too. So listening to us, don't just think that this is the only way. If what you're really interested is hand animating things or something like that, there is a market for you. There is somebody out there that will admire what you do enough to support what you're doing. It's truth. I mean, it's everywhere now. You can see it on Patreon and Kickstarter and all that stuff. But there is markets for that. It just depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to have. Do you want to have Bugatti Veyron? Well, you better make a lot of content to afford a Bugatti Veyron. For those of you who don't know what a Bugatti Veyron is, a supercar is very expensive. So we're like, what is a Bugatti Veyron for some people? So, or Ferrari or something like that,
Yeah.
So, or a Lamborghini or something, you have to produce enough in order to achieve that lifestyle. A lot of it's just a matter of the lifestyle that you want to have and how much you need to put out in order to get back, so yeah.
That's a very positive and uplifting message. I think that's a great way to end the show. I want to thank you for coming on, and I think this is the beginning of an ongoing thing, you guys. So don't look at this as a one-shot deal. If you guys enjoy this, share it, comment, let us know that you guys like this, love it, and we will continue to do more. All right, Aaron, are we ready to roll the titles out of here? So before we do that, I'm going to say my goodbye, and then you're going to roll the titles, right? I'm just going to cue you up. Guys, thank you very much. I just want to remind you guys that you are not defined by your past. The future is what you make it. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time.